think we're ready. Looks like we're ready to get started. So let's go ahead and start with the roll.
Okay, Frank Garcia.
Here.
Lisa Gainey. Here. Supervisor Judy Begay. Council Member Anthony Garcia.
Good afternoon, I'm present.
Pamela Buzzard.
Present.
Shannon Greenwood. Catherine Moore. Here. And Katie Quick.
Yeah, Katie is here.
Are you Shannon? Who's Shannon?
Shannon's not here.
Okay.
Shannon's
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, she's here. She has no voice.
Okay.
All right. And do we have any public participation today? Doesn't look like it.
Oh, no.
Okay. Then we will move on to the approval of minutes. If we need a minute to look those over, let's take that. Otherwise, when someone's ready, I will take a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the minutes for May.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. Okay, then so the motion passes. We've approved the minutes from the May 22nd meeting. Information, communication, and disclosures from board liaisons and staff. Anything in that?
I don't see anything, Frank.
Okay, sounds good. Then let's go on to our reports. Looks like the first thing is the city anti-bullying policy draft.
All right, that would be me.
Okay, Chris.
Good afternoon, chair members of the board. I'm happy to be here with you today. My name is Chris Rohde. I'm a special programs manager for the city's communication and civic engagement division. And this is a project that we've been working on for a little over a year. Essentially, it started with a notice. Every year we submit some documents to the Human Rights Campaign, and they put together a score for us on their municipal equality index. So if you don't know what that is, every year they give a report card on 506 different cities around the nation on how well they do on a variety of things in making their community, improving the services they provide to the LGBTQ community, the way they treat their employees, their police systems, and their laws and things like that. So one of the areas that we're trying to improve on in this scorecard, we use it every year, both to try to get a higher score and to evaluate all of our actual policies and services and things like that to try to do a better job of serving our public, because you know, we use them as a guideline, but it's not just about the points. We also want to make sure that the people that live and work in this community are treated well and everything. So this seemed like an area where it was kind of low-hanging fruit for us. Kind of, it was like we could work on this, and it would be a service to our community. So essentially, what they want is every program the city offers that touches youth, especially. So everything from swimming lessons to reading hours, to have a policy that prohibits bullying on the basis of all LGBTQ status, including sexual orientation and gender identity. And these are largely included already in the cities or in the program level things. So if you sign up for like a youth basketball league or something, you have to sign a waiver, and here's what the rules and code of conduct are for that program. The library has its own code of conduct, but there has not been anything that's citywide and consistent. So the idea behind this project was to create kind of a rough outline that isn't too prescriptive. So we don't want to limit each of the different things that, each of the different ways that all the different programs at the city operate. We want a similar structure of what is and is not allowed, so that anyone that attends a city event or a city program can know with confidence that bullying will not be allowed on the same kind of bases for those kind of things. So is it possible to put a draft of it on the screen?
I didn't
No?
think we were at the stage of sharing a draft.
No?
Because we
Okay.
don't have one that is close to being finalized.
Okay,
You still have to talk to Rick, and I think generally just
Yeah,
letting the
okay.
board know that
sure, yeah, we can
this
do it
is
that way as
something that's
well.
being worked on, and then
Yeah.
once we have something that's more finalized and we see how that works with our existing policies, I think it's the time to bring the actual text, because we're not asking the board
Okay.
to approve a policy that's not done yet.
Fair enough,
But just so
okay.
you have background later on and
Yeah.
know what this all is and where it's coming from.
That works for me as well then, okay. So essentially what we've come up with, after some conversation, we've talked to Linda and some researchers about it. We've talked sustainability and our police department as well. We're leading back in a few other divisions that we're trying to get in the loop so that we don't trample on any toes, and that anything that we write is not going to harm any existing programs or make it very difficult to implement. But I can give you just a basic idea of where we're at with it, I guess. So we built it really based off of more things that you would see in the school districts, because that's more common. There's a lot more districts that have policies like this than there are cities that have a policy like this. And we wanted to go a little bit beyond what the Human Rights Campaign was looking for, because they were looking specifically at youth programs, but we know that people of all ages can be subject to bullying on any basis. So we tried to make it more general, so that adults that participate in programming, as well as the staff that are leading programming, anyone that participates in it, and members of the public who may just be nearby, are all protected under the policy. So we use a definition for discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, that's largely based on our existing civil rights ordinance, which has protections for gender identity and sexual orientation, which are not included in state and federal protections. We also have definitions for bullying specifically and for retaliation, in case someone were to report something and then face discrimination because they report something or stand up for somebody that's experiencing it. We explicitly ban each of those kinds of behaviors, and then our enforcement mechanism we're trying to keep very broad, because we don't want a city dictated policy if it's not going to work for one or more of the sections. So essentially what we're at right now, our basic idea for it is that anything that is happening in the moment and is making it so that the person running the programming is unable to continue running the program and people can't feel safe participating in it, that gives the person in charge, this could be for lack of a better term, a lower level staff person, who's a coordinator or a specialist or something that's running the program, the ability to remove somebody from that day. Say, okay, you have to leave from today's program. You're not welcome here at this moment if you're going to continue this behavior. But if we want to go into the level of prohibiting someone from participating in the future for ongoing programs, we're looking at that being a higher level staff person, either a section or division director, which would be someone like Linda, or other divisions of the city are set up a little bit differently. So it could be a director that reports directly to the city manager or deputy city manager. But that's one of the areas that we're looking at. We want to hear from a couple of the divisions to see what they think on that. But letting the person running the program remove a person for the day of, but anything that would be more long term would have to go to a little bit higher up in the. My computer is freezing on me. It's not acting very well today. I'm sorry about that. So we do have a section titled confidentiality, consequences that talk about how to go about this. And then we also guarantee confidentiality for anybody that wants to report, and have a mandate that any staff person running a training be aware of this policy so that they know that they have the rights to do this. So essentially what we're looking for at this point, I guess, is any feedback you have or ideas, things you want us to incorporate into it, and to see whether you generally are supportive of the effort or not. We want to make sure that we really talk to a lot of different people that are involved in rulemaking and running programs for the city before we just mandate something from the top down. That's never really effective and not what we want to do. So we want to be collaborative on it, and would love to hear any thoughts or suggestions you have for it.
I think it sounds great to have this policy. I'm very much in favor of it. And I was waiting to see if you got to the part where you talked about consequences, but you did, so you answered my question in advance, which is great. I mean, sometimes you just have to ask somebody to leave the room, and it would be great if people had the ability to, you know, the support to be able to do that.
Yeah.
How do you define bullying?
Pull up right here. Right now, our definition for bullying, let's see where I have it, it's number 4. The repetitive, intentional hurting of one person or group by another person or group where the relationship involves an imbalance of power or a perceived imbalance of power. Bullying can be physical, verbal, or psychological. It can happen face-to-face or online. That's what we have right now.
So if it has to be an unequal distribution of power, what happens when two participants, you know, somebody's bullying another participant, perhaps?
That could still constitute harassment.
So that still counts even though there's not an imbalance of
Yes,
power?
which group is it we looked at? We looked at a lot of other samples from other nonprofit. I can't remember which of us we took the definition from.
That's-
May have been Stop Hate, one of those ones, but they really wanted the balance of power to be a portion of that, but we do have it covered by harassment if there's
Okay,
no
great.
balance of power.
Perfect.
So that would be one participant, another participant, that is harassment, yeah.
Cool.
I guess I'm a programming librarian.
Sure.
I guess I worry about it having a chilling effect on like group discussions or book clubs.
Okay.
If people might feel like they have to walk on eggshells and not express themselves, if they don't know what harassment and bullying count as, you know what I mean? Like, is it just having a different opinion, or is it actively going after somebody?
So,
I've seen libraries in California kick people out for like using incorrect pronouns and things. Would that be bullying, or would that just be a difference of opinion?
let me see, well, for harassment, we have the current definition. It's unwelcome conduct related to within the long list of things, you know, race, gender, pregnancy, national origin, age, disability, all that kind of stuff. Where such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's ability to participate in programs or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment. So you raise a very good question on this, because some of these things can be in the eye of a beholder. A person can think that they're using terms that, you know, they think are okay and another person is offended by. And writing any kind of policy around that is very difficult, which is part of why we want to get so much buy-in on it. I'll note as well that we also are aware of not wanting to kick people out of spaces like participating in public meetings like we're in right now, if they were to show up, because that would be a First Amendment violation. So we want to be careful of those things as well. But do you have a suggestion for a way to word this so that it still has teeth but doesn't eliminate those kinds of good discussions, or just
I think that,
unintentional
I think the word offensive is very broad.
offensive?
You can be
Okay.
offended by anything, you know? I've been offended by things my coworkers have said about certain things about me, but I knew they didn't mean it. So, yeah.
So you recommend removing the word offensive?
Or changing it somehow. I can just
Okay.
see it being used to really broadly not allow any discussion, or any variation of thought.
Yeah, that's definitely not the goal. So, okay.
That's, okay.
And we want to get it right. So I appreciate that thought. On the word offensive. Okay. Make a note of that.
Yeah, and when Amelia and I met with Chris a week or two ago,
Yeah.
we talked about how we're gonna have to consider how that applies or doesn't apply to our public meeting rooms and for groups that are meeting there and the free
Yes.
speech issues,
Yeah.
which we're not even directly involved in many times. So that's just one of the big considerations.
You know, being like a host versus actually participating, right? Because I mean, we're hosting the space even though we're not overseeing
Right.
the
So really,
program.
this only has to do with the city and county programs.
Yeah.
Like if it's a group you're talking about that has nothing to do with the city, then
They just
they can do whatever they want.
rented our room.
Right.
Or not rented even, just booked our room. We don't charge for
Yeah.
it.
Because they're using the space, they don't have to follow the policy.
Well, I think
good
that's
question.
that's where we'll have to talk to probably specifically the person assigned to legal issues for the
Mhm.
library. And so we'll have to do that, and we'll have to make sure that the consequences are in concert with our current behavior policy and how and when we trespass people, and make sure there's no conflicting things. One thing that we talked about when we talked with Chris earlier was it might be that, you know, the directive is, like he has said, a broader and more vague policy that we reference much in the same way that we reference the freedom to read statement from ALA in our policies, like with a link to it. We also follow this policy, but first we have to make sure that they're not conflicting in any way. But anyway, Chris said he wanted to come and talk to this group, so we wanted to
Yeah, you all have good
get your
ideas.
thoughts.
That would apply to any, like somebody's having a meeting or something at the Bushmaster Park and using the city space. I mean, you know, are those kind of situations gonna be covered? Or is it only like if the city's putting on the event?
This is an area that we're not sure of right now. So our original idea was that it would cover all city facilities, but that does open up all those other kind of things where if a person's in a public park, or like we said, a person comes to city council and wants to give public comment, and they say something that someone finds offensive, that's not a reason to end their public comment. That would be a First Amendment violation. So it may be better to go ahead and just do it with city-run programs. That would still cover most of what we're looking at. And, you know, other codes of conduct. So if a person's walking to the library and shouting expletives, that would still not be allowed. But it
We've
would,
been in here much. Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure that never happens.
It does sound.
I know it does. But so that may be a better way to go about it, just to quell some of those fears about renting spaces and things happening on city-owned property. Other policies may be able to cover the area where that crosses the line. Maybe this policy isn't the place to do that.
And maybe they just meet, like that covers some stuff and then like our internal policies kind of meet up with that or whatever.
Totally.
To cover the gap or.
And this is meant to be very broad. It doesn't, it gives a lot of abilities, but it doesn't prescribe a lot of things that have to happen. So it's up to discretion of staff in a lot of ways. And the idea behind that is that we don't want all of our individual division sections and programs to be reserved for making their own policies. We don't want our swim lessons to throw away their existing code of conduct because this exists. We want we want this to inform those policies and be an area that they can refer to and give structure to, but we don't want this to be the end catch-all.
No, Frank, you're on mute.
I'm muted. Yeah. Any more questions from the committee? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I've got your notes here, and I'll look to, once I hear back from more sections and divisions, we're gonna try to incorporate all of them. And I've heard a couple things repetitively now, so I think that those will be incorporated. And we'll share the final draft with you when we have it.
Yeah, and if you wanna bring that, we can have it in the packet ahead of time, so
Sure thing,
people
yeah.
have a chance to look at it and,
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
let us know when you're ready.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the director's report. Linda?
Okay. Very strong numbers, as you may have seen, for the summer reading challenge. As of June 17th, we had 802 kids signed up
Wow.
and 427 adults. So strong numbers right out of the chute. On the kickoff day, I believe we're already up to 500 kids.
Wow.
So, yeah, very, very exciting numbers on Summer Week.
Is that the, downtown and East Flag together?
I'm misreading my kids.
No, wait a minute, I'm sorry. That's not right. It's just downtown, because usually I report them together, but Molly told me she didn't have East Flags.
Mhm.
So that is just downtown.
Wow.
I'm just bringing my kids to that. They loved it so much every year. It was a big deal in our house.
You can still bring them, they're just adults.
Well, they're 31 and 29 now. So.
You're like, come on, guys, it's summer reading.
Well, my daughter, hopefully everything goes well, I will become a grandmother next month, for the first time, and I've already bought a ton of books.
Nice.
So-
Well, now you can take them to the SRC.
Also wanted to point out under reference on page 2, we hosted a program that was a hike up to Hart Prairie. And it was, I mean, not only just the hike and the exercise, but very instructional about geology and homesteading history, historic crops, as well as identifying birds and plants. So an educational hiking tour that was hosted by the roving rangers and as well as library staff.
Wow.
And you can see there are some nice photos that we got of that event. Under PR and marketing, we are so excited to now have our marketing librarian in place. She and Amelia went to the Veterans Stand Down, and that was quite a success, the event. I guess there were really large numbers of people who attended, so they set up a table and talked with people about library resources and services, and so it's so nice to now have someone who is dedicated to that. We've always had staff that have done these things. Mary's nodding her head, she's done it.
Yeah.
But to now have a dedicated person, I think is gonna be even better in terms of really doing outreach to the community.
What was that title again?
The, under PR and marketing,
Oh, it's the marketing.
oh,
Are they considered like the marketing person?
yeah, it's a PR and marketing librarian.
Mm.
We actually changed one of our admin positions
Yeah.
when it was vacated and used those funds because marketing is one of the things that libraries don't always do a really great job of. I know for the many years I've worked in libraries, people will say, you do that or you have that, and so we need to do better. And so we're really excited to have Emily Kane, our new marketing person. So on page 3, under Coconino Community College special election, some of you may have seen there has been some media coverage of the special election that Coconino Community College is planning to have in November. And as a part of that, there is mention of a potential space for an East Flagstaff library in that project. So that's actually being discussed and worked through. At the council meeting on July 1st, Dr. Heiser is going to come and give a presentation about that. And there'll also just be some discussion of kind of from the library side of what the wants and needs are if we were to be a part of that project, if the election is successful. Anybody have any
I hope it goes forward.
questions?
Are they thinking about just using the existing East Flagstaff library space and expanding it and out somewhere?
Yeah,
Or
it's like a whole new
are they
building.
They're gonna-
demolishing the whole thing?
They're gonna raise the building.
Okay, okay. Wow.
Oh,
I was just thinking, that's what I was saying, like, are they gonna build onto the old?
No,
Like,
no,
are they gonna
the idea is
destroy
to completely raise the
Wow.
building,
Wow.
to do a brand new building. And I have been involved in a couple of, not much of the discussions leading up to this, but a couple recently. And so there are a couple of different ideas about how the library would be a part of that. Maybe it would be attached to the new community college building, and it would be a couple stories high. Or maybe it would be not attached and either 1 or 2 stories, maybe in some of the area that's now, there's a lot of parking. So we're not real sure, you know, ideally from the libraries end, single level is a much better way to be able to staff a library and have lines of sight.
Oh, yeah.
And then also from a building cost perspective, an elevator adds a lot. And also having floors that are rated for book load on a second
Oh, my
floor.
gosh, you're right.
Is also a significant expense. So those are just some of the kinds of things that we have to kind of get some clarity on.
Do you
ahead of
know,
time.
I'm kind of embarrassed, I don't know this, I guess, but does Coconino Community College have a library?
I don't think they
No,
do.
like a
Not
university has a
not their own building that is a library.
No,
They do a
I
library.
can speak to that too. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I can only see one person in the video. This is Pamela. CCC has a librarian, but the physical library space is NAU's library. So we support CCC students that way, and they can come get like a card to get in the building after hours and check out things.
Oh, good to know. I just thought that maybe that would be, I don't know, impetus. Well, I also thought it might be impetus for them to want to do the East Flag Library and, you know, add on a section if they had to for their own stuff, if people just went across town to NAU or somewhere, but I don't know.
So is that included in the 100 million? Like the city doesn't have to come up with the funds for the new library?
That is my understanding. I don't know how I got all choked up. I took a drink of water. Guess I'm all choked up about that library.
That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting if we can make it work, for
Would
sure.
there be a plan during, after they raise the building, what happens to the contents of the East Flag Library? Do they go into like a portable building, like you have in schools, you know, portables or something like that?
That's another thing that would have to be resolved is how do we continue to provide service over there?
Yeah. It's gonna be a tough thing.
Of course, we did a little pop-up library when this library was closed.
Oh, right.
So there's, could definitely look at ways to work with that or work around that. On the next page, under the county library section, a couple of really fun stories coming out of the Grand Canyon Community Library. They had a patron come in who asked about a book about the Grand Canyon that they had read as a kid.
Oh.
And the staff was able to identify that book. And so the person was so excited, they signed up for a card and checked out that book that had been such a,
You read Brady of the Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
I remember that book.
yeah, just such a great childhood memory for that person.
Aw.
And then I also just loved reading about the mother with a small child who were using the play set with the doctor's kit. Yeah, and used a stethoscope to test the heartbeat of the kid's favorite book. So cute. You gotta love stories like that in libraries. And then I just also wanted to point out a couple of things under staff news. Andrea Barantes, who had for many years been the outreach specialist here at the downtown library, has now moved over and is working at the jail library. So she has a brand new position over there. And then also another significant update, Felicia Fiedler, who had been the training and volunteer librarian for a number of years, as well as Nick Soames, who is her husband, and was a children's specialist here for a number of years, have both resigned and they are moving to St. Cloud, Minnesota. So big change here. Those are the main things I wanted to highlight, and I'm always happy to take questions about other items in my report or.
I had a question on the report from the consultant.
Oh, yeah.
Are we gonna be able to see the recommendations? It sounded like it was
Yes,
a done deal.
it's on your agenda for August.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're putting together a team of city and county staff to talk about how we're going to implement those recommendations.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions for Linda? All right, and so we will move on to the Library of Things and Seed Library. And Mary, I see you in the room, so take it away.
It's quick. Okay, yeah. Or actually, I guess I don't have a mouse. I can just, yeah, get it ready and I can just take the mouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see. Please. Is this it? Excuse me.
Yeah.
And then you can do the slideshow.
Yes.
No worries. All right, so Reference is in charge of the Library of Things, which has been going for a little over, I want to say, 2 or 3 years now. It's basically a collection of non-traditional library items. So not even DVDs, weirder than that. It's tools, art supplies, science kits, outdoor equipment, things. The idea behind it is to let patrons borrow items they might not be able to afford, or to use items that you don't need all the time, that you don't want to buy, and then never use again, or to try things out before you want to purchase them. And any full privilege card holder can check them out. Temporary card holders cannot, except they can check out, there's a few in-library use items, which we'll get to, like chargers and things, bike locks. But if you have a full card, you can check out the items. Each item is 14-day checkout. Patrons can get 2 items at a time. Some items go together. For example, we have a mixer and a mixer bowl. So you check out those 2. We have a hiking kit and hiking poles. So things like that. All the items, excluding the seed packets, which we'll talk about at the end, can be put on hold and be picked up at either library. Most of the things live in our library. You can see them in the glass cases behind the information desk. But there are also some at East Flag as well. So just to give you an idea of all the different things, so we have a lot of tools and auto and home repair things. A great example is an orbital sander. How many times do you need to use an orbital sander, But if you need it once, we have it. There's also a lot of like checkup kits, radon detection, home water checkup. The home water one is actually supplied to us by the water department, I believe, or sustainability. I think it was the water department. So yeah, various tools, sporting equipment, outdoor equipment, also some gardening kits. We're actually getting a second gardening kit pretty soon. We also have really cool STEM kits. So those first 3, exploring biodiversity, mapping mosquito habitats, and observing pollinators, are all citizen science kits. There's a company called Science Starter that basically has it all. It gives you like what you would need to buy and the instructions, and then people can go out and do citizen science and help, map various parts of nature. We also have obvious things like microscopes, telescopes, and then the last 3, Snap Circuits, Turing Tumble, and Kiva building set, are basically like kits that help you explore certain things, building, or the Turing Temple is like logic. It's almost like a game, but it's sciencey too. We also have cooking arts and crafts. And again, like you might want to buy an Instapot, but you don't know if you want it yet, so you can try it out. We actually have many more styles of loom that are listed here. But yeah, lots of knitting and crochet, fiber art, as well as sewing. And media production and use. Currently we have a CD player. We are getting some external disk drives as well, since fewer and fewer computers have those attached. There's video digital converter, the media production kit, and the podcasting kit have things that you would need to like make your own videos. And again, like you might, if you really, really like it, you might end up buying your own kits, but this gives you a chance to actually try them out, see what's involved, see if it works for you. And then we also have odds and ends. So umbrellas are normal, like let's say you come to the library, it starts pouring. Well, hey, you can check out an umbrella and then go to your car or wherever. Shredder, laminator, label maker, ultrasonic cleaner, and then into the really weird and wild, a metal detector, 2 Dungeons and Dragons kits, a ghost hunting kit, and a didgeridoo. So all the things that you might need.
That didgeridoo.
The didgeridoo, the ghost, those last 3 are so popular.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious.
Wow.
People love them. Yeah, and the ghost hunting kit is literally just like an EMF reader, a voice recorder, and like some other like home repair thing. Like that's all it is. But people love it. People love it. And then, as I mentioned, there's some in-library items. So a bike lock, if you rode your bike here and you forgot your lock. The charging and adapter cables are super popular. We do actually have a large print keyboard. We've only checked it out like twice, but the person who needed it. It's basically just like a normal keyboard. It's just the numbers are bigger. And the Big Track ball mouse is similar, I believe. You can scroll over writing and it will actually show it to you large on the screen. Yeah, we have a couple adaptable things like that as well. And then coming soon, we have ordered all these, we just haven't packaged them and cataloged them. So a VCR, which is actually a surprising number of people have asked us for that, because we do have a VHS to digital converter, but it's this big. We do, but it's this big, so you actually need a VCR to put your tape in and convert it. Yeah.
Is that converter something that you can check out?
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna be.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, yes, we definitely check that out. Get all your old home movies into digital format. We have many more toolkits. We're gonna get a blood pressure cuff, as I mentioned, external disk drives, air fryer, GoPro, and more. So yeah, it's very exciting. It's really.
Are you gonna have like the external chargers? You know, for your phone, like the charger.
Oh, like the one that you just sit on? Or...
Well, not that, no, it's portable. You take it with you and you charge up the charger.
That's a really
And
good
then
idea.
you plug your phone into it.
That's an excellent idea. I'll put it
Or
on
like a
the
battery pack, like
Yeah.
a external battery
Yeah,
pack.
yeah, I'll put that on our
Come in all
list. We have a
different shapes
solar
and
charger,
sizes.
but that's more for like camping. But yeah, that's a really good idea. External.
I have a random question.
Yeah.
Can you check out 2 of these things at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And currently it's 2 items at a time. We may broaden it to 3. When we first had it, it was not locked behind glass. It was on a shelf, and not only do people try to steal complete kits, they would steal like an individual tool from the toolbox. And I'm like, but now that it's all behind glass, there's much less of that. So yeah, and I think people are pretty good at returning most of the items. And
Do you still have the Frisbee golf?
we do kids golf.
I
Yeah.
saw disc golf.
Yeah, kids golf. We still have that.
Yeah, that GoPro's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our seed library, which is technically separate in our catalog from library things, but in my brain, it's like the same because it's a non-traditional item. But it works a little bit differently. So we have different kinds of seeds. They're just marked as seed in the system because it was way too complicated to try and differentiate all the things. You basically have to go in person and look at what seeds there are, but it's pretty much all the different kinds of seeds you can have. The way it works is patrons can check out 2 seed packets per visit. They are only at the East Library, so you can't put them on hold because you don't know what's there until you get there. And then basically it goes on your account for a day and then it checks back in, quote unquote, just so it's not on your account anymore, and then you can just keep the seeds and
You don't have to bring the seats
you
back.
don't have to bring the seeds back.
That's what I was wondering, are you supposed to? Some of them didn't bring their.
Yeah. Yeah, we thought of that. And it's in a really cute old library catalog, card
I
catalog.
like the card catalog.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's, if you go to the East Library, around the desk toward the restrooms, it's like in the corner. It's very cute.
Cool.
And then, so most of the seeds that we get, we purchase from local or larger vendors, but we try to have things that would actually grow here, obviously. And we have a seed, I don't know if there's currently a seed steward, but we had a seed steward volunteer who basically knows what seeds to purchase, puts them in the envelopes, keeps it tidy, makes sure it's organized. And then, you actually can return your seeds if you want. So if you end up growing something and you want to harvest the seeds, you can donate them back. There's a little form you fill out just so we know like what the seeds are, where they came from. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And as for usage, so just over the last 12 months, the library things items have circulated 1,883 times, not including seed packets, which was their own 443.
Wow.
Nice.
So they're very popular. Yeah. And that's all I have. Any questions?
When you go online, where can you find the list?
So you can either just search library of things, or what I recommend to people is to use, it should usually work. If you just leave it blank and you just click search, it'll search everything in our entire catalog. And then if you go to collections on the side, on the left side of the screen, you can just search library of things and it'll show you everything we have.
Okay,
Yeah, we also have a brochure, a paper brochure by the information desk.
it has the list.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
Okay, one question I have is, do the patrons assume any liability that might come with the use, like an orbital sander?
Not currently. I know we did talk about whether or not to have like a waiver. I don't think anything ever came of that, but I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't seem like we've made people sign an agreement or a safety waiver.
Just curious.
Yeah,
Probably something we should look at.
probably something we should
I
look
think
at.
especially with, when libraries check out tools, there are samples out there of waivers we could pray. look
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, just curious.
Something from my old job. There's a waiver, a safety waiver.
Yeah.
But
All right, thanks, Mary.
like when you bring a book back that's damaged.
Yeah, you
Is
have to
it
pay
there?
for a damaged item.
Right, so if you bring the GoPro back and it doesn't work anymore,
Yeah, you do have to pay for it.
then
Yeah.
you would.
You would, yeah. So and that's the thing is like, they are pricier items, so you are kind of taking that responsibility onto yourself, when you check them out. But so far, not counting the ones that were stolen when they were not behind glass, the only few damaged items were like not the most expensive ones. Like we had a Bluetooth speaker that was like, maybe $20, and somebody actually, a different patron found it outside his apartment and was like, I think this is yours, and
Oh my God.
yeah, so, yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
went into under collections and there's library of
Oh,
things.
perfect. Yes.
I want to find it, so
Okay,
now it's on that. I just did what Mary just said, I just clicked search with nothing,
With
and then
nothing
over
in
there, there was collections on the side, and then there it
the
is.
library of things was in the collection.
Yes, yes. If you're not used to using the filters on the side, they're so handy. I always use the filters on the side of our
I
website.
don't typically, but now I know how.
They're great for browsing.
Cool.
Any other questions?
That was very informative.
Yeah, very informative. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Nice job.
I had no idea.
Alrighty.
Much.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we don't have any action items. Are there any informational items or requests from board members?
Hello?
Go
Hello?
ahead, Judy.
It's a Supervisor Brigade. I just want to let everybody know that we did pass the final budget for the coming years on Tuesday this week. So I just want to say congrats to the people that put the budget together and presented it to the board for approval. So I just want to share that with everyone that the budget has been finally approved.
Great. All right. Anybody else have any informational items? All right, hearing none. We have 3 things for future agendas. We have the director's report, a library district consultant report, and the county library's update from Damaris. And our next meeting is scheduled for August 28th. Anything else for the good of the order? All righty, then I think that we will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Our break.